Welcome to Milestone Moments, the show where we explore the journeys that lead to success. I'm Sheila Slick, your host and founder of 5 Milestones. In every episode, we will bring you insights from the minds of entrepreneurs, leaders, and experts who will share not just their expertise, but the milestone moments that have reshaped their journeys and led to significant achievements. So if you're looking for motivation, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and discover the milestones that mark the path to success. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Milestone Moments in Business and Leadership. I'm Sheila Slick, your host. And today we're talking about something that impacts us all, whether we're in the middle of our business journey or just starting out. And I'm talking about barriers to growth. We all have big dreams, and some of us have those huge game-changing visions while others might have smaller, more immediate goals. But let me ask you something. Why is it that sometimes, despite working hard and putting in the effort, we don't seem to get any closer to achieving those dreams? It can feel like you're running on a treadmill sometimes, moving but not really going anywhere. So why? Well, let me tell you something that I learned the hard way. We often build invisible barriers to our own growth, and they're not always obvious. They don't come with flashing lights or loud alarms, but they're there. And until we're aware of them, they hold us back. So today, I want to talk about the power of awareness and how identifying these barriers is the first step to breaking through them. The truth is, if you can't see it, you can't change it. So let's talk about how you can develop the power of awareness and start identifying your own personal barriers to growth. Let's get clear on what I mean by barriers. These aren't always the big, obvious roadblocks that we think about. Sometimes they're subtle. Sometimes they'll creep up in ways and we don't always notice. You might find yourself justifying why you haven't made progress. And you might find yourself saying things like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm working so hard. Why isn't it working? And I know this because I've been there. A few years ago, I had found myself stuck in this cycle of working harder and harder, but I wasn't really seeing the results that I wanted. And I kept telling myself, if I just push harder, things are just gonna click. But deep inside, I knew that something was off. It wasn't about my effort. It was about something deeper. And when I took a step back and I really looked at my situation, I realized that that barrier was fear. And that fear is fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough. And this kind of self-sabotage isn't rare. It is so common. In fact, that most of us don't even recognize when it is happening. So what's the first step? Well, the first step is to be honest with yourself. And that's not easy, but it is absolutely necessary if you're wanting to grow. So let's break down some of the most common barriers to growth that I've come across, both in my own journey, with the people that I've coached, and through my education. And these are the ones that sneak in and hold us back when we least expect it. And the number one most common barrier to growth is fear of failure. We have that one big fear of failure. And this one keeps so many people stuck. We start to believe that if we fail, it's the end, that we'll be judged, we'll be criticized, or that we just aren't cut out for success. So we avoid that risk and we play it safe. But the truth behind that is that avoiding failure doesn't help you grow. In fact, it's what's keeping you from trying new things, from taking chances, and from learning. I've passed on many different opportunities because I was terrified of failure. But when I finally embraced it and realized it was a necessary part of the process, everything changed. Failure isn't an enemy, it's a teacher. So what do you have to lose? Perfectionism is the number 2. I'm sure you've heard this one before. I can't start until it's perfect. If you're constantly waiting for the perfect moment or setting these impossibly high standards for yourself, you'll stay stuck. Perfectionism keeps you from making progress. We've all done it. I've done it countless times. I've delayed decisions and projects because I was worried that they weren't perfect. But when I eventually realized that progress is more important than perfection, I began to move forward. And when you move forward, you're growing. Number 3, a third barrier, is a lack of self-belief. Maybe you doubt yourself or you feel like you're not ready for the next step. And if you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? This kind of thinking keeps you afraid. It keeps you small. But you'll never stretch beyond your limits if you stay in that comfort zone. I have had so many moments when I felt like an imposter. Like I wasn't capable as the people around me. Even with this podcast, I lacked the self-belief that I could be the host of a podcast. But self-belief isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you cultivate. And once you believe in yourself, everything begins to shift. And sometimes what is holding us back is when we get too comfortable. We settle into a routine and we stop challenging ourselves. We stop growing. Comfort feels great in the moment, but in the long run, what it does is it leads to stagnation. Growth requires discomfort. It requires stepping out of our comfort zone. For me, I've gotten comfortable in my routine many times. I've also stepped out of my comfort zone many times. And it wasn't until I pushed myself out of my comfort zone that I began to see real growth again or results that I didn't expect. They went above and beyond my expectations. And then there's always the external influences, other people's opinions, societal expectations, and that pressure to fit in. Those can all create barriers. It's so easy to let other people's judgments shape our decisions. And this pressure sometimes makes you want to follow what everyone else is doing instead of paving your own path. But when you realize that if you keep letting the outside influences dictate your choices, then you'll never truly be yourself. And breaking free from that pressure is a game changer. So now that you know what some of these common barriers are, let's talk about how you can cultivate that power of self-awareness. How do you start seeing what's actually holding you back? Well, the first step is self-reflection. You start by taking the time regularly to check in with yourself. And you can do that through journaling, meditation, or just sitting down with your thoughts. Ask yourself, what is holding me back right now? Where do I feel stuck? What fears am I facing? 2, so now that we've talked about some of the most common barriers, let's talk about how you can cultivate that power of self-awareness. How do you start seeing what's actually holding you back? Well, I'm going to give you 5 different ways to do that. And number 1, start with self-reflection. And that means taking time to regularly sit down, check in with yourself, or you can journal, you can meditate. But sitting down with your thoughts can reveal a lot. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What is holding me back right now? Where am I feeling stuck? What fears am I facing? The second thing you can do is get feedback from others. Sometimes you can't see your own blind spots. So get feedback. Ask a mentor, a coach, or even a friend who will be honest with you. And that can help you identify barriers you might not have noticed. Number 3 is to practice mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness, you're becoming more aware of your thoughts and your emotions in real time. And this helps you catch these limiting beliefs as they arise. And at the same time, they can help you shift your mindset before they take hold. Number 4, set intentions and review regularly. Set clear intentions for your growth, and then review your progress regularly. This helps you stay on track and course. You can even correct if new barriers pop up. And 5, create actionable steps. Once you've identified your barriers, take actionable steps to overcome them. Whether it's taking a small risk every week or completing a project without aiming for perfection, create those steps, those milestones that will move you forward. Awareness is the first step. Once you see the barriers, you can start to break through them. So take a moment and reflect on what's holding you back, and then make a plan to move forward. Thanks for tuning in today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more moments of insights into business leadership and personal growth. The link is in the description. Until next time.